You might have seen this video taken during a screening at the Annecy Animation Film Festival this year, where an aggressively French woman cursed angrily and protested during the end credits of Hulsing's short film Danse Macabre for using AI.
Fuck you! This is the end of art! You should own your shame! Annecy Festival! You should know better! Franchement, c'est trop la honte! Annecy Festival, ne regardez plus ce genre de merde!
This part did not surprise anyone. Anything AI would obviously receive backlash at an animation festival. But something that caught my attention was the length of Danse Macabre's end credits. Looking at the trailer, the motion does actually feel extremely AI. Why does an AI animation need that many people? So it turns out a lot of real human artists worked on this film. It took them around 11 years to make, and the film itself was based on 79 of Hulsing's real oil paintings.
For every shot in the film, I made an oil painting to inform the teams what the shot should look like. After photographing them, I would remove the characters and the paintings would serve as background paintings.
This does come off as a bit odd to me, working so hard for so long only to end up using AI for compositing, especially since Hulsing was supposedly warned to step back from using stable diffusion. This is actually the detail that made Danse Macabre extremely polarizing. People who love art and animation are understandably furious at their use of AI, but there are also those who think it's unfair to clump an AI-assisted animation with AI slop.
The challenge with this film was to maintain the look of my paintings for every shot, but the common shaders that 3D software offered were not good enough to come to the right look. 2.5 years ago, we figured that we might be able to program our own shaders using machine learning. Stijn Louise created a model based on hundreds of my paintings.
Now hear me out, I do have an opinion. I think both sides should stop fighting each other because they both have a common enemy. It doesn't matter if you want to protect the integrity of art by keeping it human-made or if you want to push art to grow with technology and innovation. Neither of you can have this, and it's all because of Sam Altman. Okay, obviously there are a lot of players in the AI field. There are dozens of butthole logo companies who are more or less as guilty as OpenAI. But Altman really was the first in the trend that would inevitably lead to a wall that prevents innovations and technology from being used in filmmaking and art in general. I'm sure you've seen multiple headlines within the past few years saying some doctors or scientists made a medical or scientific breakthrough with AI. Someone who isn't that well informed about AI would probably imagine some dude in a lab coat dragging a CSV or a spreadsheet into a chatbot with the prompt, "Analyze this please," then the chatbot would magically spit out a thesis that would have taken us mere mortals decades to come up with on our own. Now, this mental image is a result of OpenAI's push towards the idea that AI is a magical PhD level expert in your pocket.
Not just like grade school or middle schooler level intelligence, but like PhD level intelligence and beyond.
You know, O3 is already like pretty smart. You hear people say like, wow, this is like a good PhD. The models can now do the kind of reasoning in a particular domain you'd expect a PhD in that field to be able to do.
But with GPT-5, now it's like talking to an expert, a legitimate PhD level expert in anything, any area you need, on demand, that can help you with whatever your goals are. You get access to an entire team of PhD level experts in your pocket, helping you with whatever you want to do.
Thanks to this brilliant marketing plan, ChatGPT indirectly takes credit for the work done by a specifically made machine learning algorithm specifically designed for one specific research activity. Now, this clustering of technologies into one encompassing term is not only affecting the layman's perception of its use in STEM fields, but also in the humanities. I remember seeing some demos back in 2017 of this, at the time, upcoming Adobe tool called Project Cloak.
We'll go back over here and look at the result. And you'll see I've removed this spotlight.
So this is like content-aware fill for videos, effectively what's going on here. Wow. Which is awesome.
This tool automated the video in-painting process, and it wasn't long until we saw similar free and open source projects like FGVC. Now, to be fair, these weren't generative AI tools like we know them today. They don't use massive data centers or stolen artworks. They base their in-paintings on surrounding pixels and frames, fully offline on your computer. At the time, this was genuinely groundbreaking and exciting news for filmmakers and content creators around the world. And when similar tools like automatic background removal or video relighting were released, nobody feared being replaced, nobody questioned the ethics behind it, and nobody questioned if this ruins the integrity of the final artwork. It just meant that we could now automate the tedious tasks and focus on the finer details that elevate the quality of the work instead. Fast forward to today, and similar tools are widely available, but they utilize generative AI rather than offline algorithms. And from a business perspective, you can't really blame them for this shift. In painting, using a data center with an algorithm trained on thousands of stolen samples would be faster and generate higher results. You'd think that we'd be even more excited than we were back in 2017. But because of the way these tech corporations are shoving AI everywhere, we have no choice but to push back against this and similar kinds of technology. I do believe that in another timeline, Danse Macabre's use of offline open source machine learning trained on the director's own art would have been seen as an experimental use of new technology rather than an AI slop film. To be clear, by no means am I defending Hulsing's use of Stable Diffusion. I do agree that it cheapened his team's work. It's been years, we know what AI motion looks like, and instead of seeing the hard work put into this short film, all we can see is the AI motion. Like, they were already using Blender. Why didn't they just use UV mapping or something? There were options. And this experimental use of technology does not belong in an animation festival. His choice to demote his film to AI-assisted status would make it more akin to Corridor's anime rock, paper, scissors as a technology test rather than something that intrudes in art spaces that generally just don't want to be anywhere near AI in the first place. Even then, Hulsing's use of AI is in bad taste. Like, we're long past the I just want to experiment phase of Stable Diffusion. Unless he has a genuinely innovative use of this technology, I don't think there is any justification for him to have used AI. It really did just make his film look bad. What I am trying to say is that AI has become a very broad term co-opted by billion-dollar tech companies. Generative software trained on stolen art and requiring ecologically devastating data centers and fully offline, free and open source machine learning tools are now both under the same AI umbrella. So whether you want art to be protected and remain human, or if you want the tools artists use to develop and innovate, at the end of the day, we are all losers to the butthole corporate overlords who both force this AI nonsense down our throats and also bastardize the future of tools that could have been used to empower artists. I do have a follow-up video I want to make about our short film, The Night of Candle Mountain. It's mostly a live-action short film, but it does contain animation and musical elements. A few of my non-artist friends who saw the film early did ask if we use AI in any way. Short answer is no, none whatsoever. But I do want to go into more detail as to why we did not, because I do think that even for small VFX tasks, generative AI tools are harmful to films, not just on the artistic side, but also the technical and practical sides. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you so much for giving me your time. Any feedback would be appreciated. Did I go off topic too much? Did I ramble? Did I over-explain? Let me know. And again, thanks for watching.